Dear friends, as we are celebrating this fourth Sunday of Easter, we have the first reading taken from the Acts of the Apostles. The two arrested apostles, John and Peter, stand before the elders and the rulers and the scribes, and they powerfully testify on the resurrection of Jesus. They ask them, with what power and in whose name do you do this? That means they had healed a person at the temple gate. He was a paralyzed man, lame man. He was able to walk. People were surprised, and they were continuing to preach in the name of the resurrected Lord. And Peter boldly answers, "You who rejected the Holy One, the stone, Jesus Christ from Nazareth, has become the cornerstone, because God raised him from death. And there is no other name and there is no other power except Jesus Christ who can save us." That is the foundation of our Christian faith. That's why we proclaim the mystery of our faith, the secret of our faith. Christ died, Christ rose, and Christ will come again. So that is the secret on which our whole existence is built. There is no other way to enter into heaven. There is no other way we can be saved except through Jesus Christ. So we have to accept it. Then you might ask a question, what about other people? God has his own way of saving them. But for us, it is only through Jesus Christ we are capable of saving ourselves, because he died on the cross, he rose from the dead, and now the disciples are proclaiming so powerfully about this truth. And not only that, they are not only healing people, Peter will be also raising a dead woman by name Dorcas at Joppa. So he was empowered with the power of the resurrected Lord. Dear friends, I was watching the funeral ceremony of Barbara Bush yesterday, and lots of people in that cathedral or a church, all elite people, ex-presidents and first ladies and rich people, politicians. At one point, the priest started reading the Gospel of John about the resurrection. And at that moment, the cameraman showed all the people in the church. And I observed almost all people were putting their head down and listening to the Gospel. Then I was making my own reflection, what they were thinking about the resurrection. Dear friends, no matter how great a person is, or a woman or man is, with that power in this world, we are not going to achieve anything unless we surrender ourselves in the hands of the risen Lord. That is our hope. That is our power in this world. So that is why Jesus' command over us, authority over us, to save us from our sinfulness and to lead us to the fold of the Father. That is the real meaning and power that we get through the resurrection of Christ. That's why John, in his letter, in the second reading, we hear, we are made children of God because God loves us through Jesus Christ. We do not know how we will be, but when we are revealed, when he reveals himself, we will be like him and we will see him as he is. So that is a very clear indication that John gives us through his letter, that we have participation in the resurrection of Christ. We will be raised on the last day. Now, how to make this truth of the resurrection very present and practical and experiential in our daily life? Dear friends, we need to have that experience of the resurrection, and everything that we do every day must penetrate with this truth. Our relationship, our work, our pain, our sorrow, our joy, whatever it may be, it should be experienced through the resurrection of Christ. Then only we Christians have some kind of real deep satisfaction, even if there is loss and pain and sorrow, suffering. If you have to carry our daily cross, if we can do that with that spark of the resurrection in our heart, our life will be quite easier. It may not be easier in the physical life, but in the spirit, because Jesus can raise us up. That means He is raising us up every day. It is not that, oh, when I die, I will be resurrected. No, we are resurrected every day. That is why the man who was healed by Peter experienced the resurrection of Christ and that healing. When we pray, we are healed. When we are in touch with the Lord, resurrected through the sacraments, we are healed. We are empowered. We know how to live our lives with the deep sense of resurrection in our daily living. Now, gospel passage, a very powerful one today, taken from John chapter 10, verses 11 to 18. Jesus affirms and tells about Himself, I am the good shepherd. Why does He say, I am the good shepherd? He could have said, I am a good shepherd. Why did He say, I am the good shepherd? Now, there were good shepherds in the Old Testament. Abraham was a shepherd. Isaac was a shepherd. Jacob was a shepherd. Moses was shepherd. David was a shepherd too, a shepherd boy who was chosen to be the king of Israel. And that is why David, when he was confronted with this great predicament that was put forward by Saul, that he had to defeat Goliath, Saul was really helpless. Who is going to defeat Goliath? And David comes as a small boy. He says, I am capable of doing, because I have tended the sheep in the wilderness. I have taken care of them. Even when they were attacked by lion and bear, I stood firm and snatched them away from their jaws. On 2 occasions, I killed a lion and I killed a bear. Therefore, I am going to serve you, my king, in the name of the Holy One. You will read this beautiful story of David in 1 Samuel chapter 17, verse 36 onwards, where David represents a shepherd. But he is not the good shepherd. Why? David did not lay down his life for his people. When the wars were going on, David was in his palace, was receiving messengers and messages. But he did not go out there to lay down his life. That is the difference between a good shepherd and the good shepherd. Jesus laid down his life on the cross. Now, how Jesus laid down his life on the cross? It was not on Good Friday that he died. He literally died on the cross. But every day through his life, he touched the hearts of people. He helped them. He lived among all kinds of people, Samaritans, Gentiles, Romans, Jews, prostitutes, tax collectors, pagans, all kinds of people. He wanted to bring them all together. That's why practically every day he spent his life dying. So that is how Jesus said, I lay down my life. Now when Jesus says, I am the good shepherd, from where does it come? It comes from the Old Testament. When Moses actually was asked by God to liberate people from their captivity in Egypt and bring them to the promised land, Moses was actually helpless. He wanted to know the name of God, and he asked, who are you? What is your name? And God said, I am who I am. He did not say, I am who I was, I am who I will be. He said, I am who I am. Exodus chapter 3, verse 14. Very clear manifestation of God Himself speaking to us in the person of Jesus. I am the good shepherd. I am the light of the world. I am the resurrection. I am the way, the truth, and the life. I am. Why I am? Jesus is the Son of God. So why good? Because He is noble, wholesome, generous, and kind. That is what Jesus did during His whole life, tending His disciples, apostles, taking care of them. Now it is nice to hear about the doctrine on the Good Shepherd. Dear friends, at the end of John's Gospel, chapter 21, Jesus asks Peter 3 times a question. Peter, do you love me? And Peter replies, yes, Lord, I love you. And Jesus says, take care of my lambs. The second time, Jesus asked, Peter, do you love me? Yes, Lord, I love you. Tend my sheep. Jesus asked him 3rd time. Now today you go home and ask your wife and husband and your children 3 times, do you love me, do you love me? They may tell you, are you crazy? Are you crazy? 3 times you ask the same question? And that is why Peter was really hurt, maybe a little bit irritated. And he said, Lord, I love you, you know it. And Jesus replies, take care of my sheep. Dear friends, being the good shepherd, learning from Jesus is in our own life being good shepherds. That is the invitation that Jesus gives us through this wonderful gospel passage. We need to die to ourselves in order to give life to others. Unless a grain of wheat falls to the ground and dies, it remains single. It has to die. Jesus very clearly noted that in chapter 15 of John's Gospel, verse 13, there is no greater love than laying down one's life for one's friends. And that is why He said, I call you friends. If you keep my commandments, you will be my friends. Now, how can we live the spirit of the Good Shepherd in our daily lives? Let us make a very concrete reflection here. Dear friends, being good shepherd is being kind, good, noble, wholesome, generous in our lives. And that starts at home. If you are not generous, if you are not going to be a good shepherd to your wife, your husband, your children, your grandparents, your parents, you cannot be good shepherd outside. The law and the principle is very simple. Charity begins at home. Charity begins at home. So how can we do that? Now sometimes in this modern world, we know that we are in touch with the whole world. I have a Facebook account. I have 1,500 contacts all over the world. And I spend hours together sending pictures and messages and messaging again and receiving messages. But I am so silent, indifferent to my own family members. I don't have time. I don't have time for my father, mother, brother or sister, children, my uncle, my grandparents, my parents. I don't have time because I have Facebook. I have to be in touch with 1,500 people all over the world. And then I have WhatsApp. I have 259 members in my group. So I have to be very busy sending pictures, receiving pictures, sending messages, receiving messages. Dear friends, being good shepherd is trying to help those people who are around. I see here a wonderful lady. How her son taking care of her? That is sacrifice. Dear friends, sacrifice does not mean that I become a hero in the whole world. No, taking care, charity begins at home. How much time do I give to my mom, to my father, my brother, my sister, my grandparents who are aged? Do I have time sometimes to visit my grandfather, grandmother, who have done such a lot to my family, my aging parents who are suffering, who are alone, homebound? Different. That is being good shepherd. When we do that, then certainly we are capable of doing charitable works outside in the society. Well, go out and do charity. But first responsibility is being charitable at home. That is what Jesus teaches us. Very clearly, he defended, nurtured, protected his 12 disciples. When they were criticized, he defended them. When they were hungry, he fed them. When they were depressed, he encouraged them. When they were in danger, he protected them. That is the task of a good shepherd. If we can do that, dear friends, we are imitating Christ. That is called laying down one's life for one's friends. It is understanding of our own brothers and sisters around how I can realize, discharge the responsibilities that are entrusted with me. If I can do that, dear friends, we all will be good shepherds like Jesus. Ultimately, what is important is love. I repeat, there is no greater love than laying down one's life for one's friends. Jesus says, I know the Father, he knows me, and I know my sheep, they know me. That is what the relationship is. When we want to build a relationship with God, we know God, we understand God's will, then we know one another, we understand one another. That is what we are called to do. That is how we can build a community, one flock, one shepherd. That's why Jesus says, there are many others who do not belong to this fold. I must bring them all together. So when we do that, dear friends, we are celebrating the resurrection of the Lord in our daily lives. Please rise, we profess our faith.